Yeah, thank you for having us on and allowing us to present. Just a quick, going to give you an overview of what we're doing here at Shardus. So we're based out of Richardson, Texas, and we're building, layer one, distributed ledger technology software, which we hope will enable us to be able to create really scalable, decentralized networks and hopefully enable a more decentralized world. So first, let me go through what Shardus is. So basically, it's a framework for building decentralized networks. So it's not a smart contract platform. So a lot of times, people kind of get us confused with, our own network that we're launching or something like that. So we're not launching our own network like Ethereum or, Polkadot and things like that. You can think of us more like Hyperledger, where it's software that can be used to create customized, decentralized, networks. And it's, whereas like Hyperledger is focused more on just permission networks, Shardus can be used for both permission network and for public networks. So also Shardus is an association. So we're organized as a group of developers working towards the same common goal. We've been active since early 2018, and we have about 10 members on our team. And the members receive a Shardus token in exchange for their contribution. And the token is basically something that you would need eventually to license the software. So this is, we're probably the first project that's ever used a token for software licensing. And that basically is the utility of the token. And essentially, our token is an ERC20 token on the Ethereum network. And our contract has a purchase license function built into it. So when somebody wants to buy a license, they can submit Shardus tokens to it and receive a license token in exchange, and that provides proof on the blockchain of somebody acquiring a license to the software. And the token, more information about it is, they're on like CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap and so forth. Now, why are we building Shardus? So, if you've been around this space in the blockchain area, you know that there's a lot of issues with the current solutions that are out there, and everybody's frantically working towards, trying to solve those issues. The first generation networks like blockchain, Ethereum, and so forth had very low transaction per second throughput. Now we have second generation networks, things like Elrond and Solana and Algorand and all these new platforms that are popping up. They do have a higher speed in terms of transactions per second, but a lot of them compromise on decentralization, where you have a limited number of nodes that are the validators, and only those nodes can participate, and you can't just run your own node and join at random like how you could with the Bitcoin or Ethereum network. So our goal is to achieve scalability through linear scaling. And what that means is, as you add more nodes to the network, the transaction per second throughput of the network would go up. And the other goal is to maximize the level of decentralization. With the first generation networks like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they did start out very decentralized, but over time they lost a lot of the decentralization due to mining pools and and you know, a few handful of miners becoming very dominant in being able to produce the blocks. The second generation solutions have, you know, pretty much started out saying, well, decentralization isn't that important. We need to just have a lot more speed. So our goal is to allow a very large number of independent, anonymous full nodes to be able to join networks that are created using Shardus. And to allow that, one of the things that you have to be able to do is require a very low level of resource requirements in order to participate in the network. And also it has to be profitable, but not extremely profitable. So, you know, the margins would probably be low so that, you know, you have people who are more interested in maintaining and running this network, providing the resources, as opposed to somebody that's just profit seeking. The other issue is, you know, with security, we're currently expending a lot of energy in order to maintain the security of these networks. We are moving, you know, with like Ethereum to a proof of stake kind of a model, which makes things better. But, you know, we feel that using something more like PBFT type solution would actually, you know, enhance the security while minimizing the energy expenditure. And so that's kind of, you know, what we're shooting for. And also, you know, you can also have a network that's semi-permissionless, where entities can be approved to join the network, but you approve more entities than are needed, and those entities rotate in providing services to the network. So the total pool of entities that can participate is much larger than the ones that are actively participating. And so that increases your, you know, security level. Another thing that we're shooting for is, you know, interoperability between the blockchains. Currently, you know, a lot of the blockchains are very siloed. You know, certain blockchains like Polkadot and so forth are constructed so that only the chains that are, you know, created within that ecosystem can talk to each other. But, you know, if you think about how web services work, you know, they use APIs to talk to each other. And so we believe that that is actually the model that will prevail long term, where blockchains will just provide APIs to other blockchains to be able to use. And, you know, there's also really cool breakthroughs happening in cryptography, where like threshold signature schemes are becoming available, which would allow a blockchain to be able to submit transactions to another chain, just as, you know, somebody owning private keys would be able to do, and so forth. So those kind of things will allow this new model where each blockchain can talk to any other blockchain in the same way like web services talk to each other. Also, you know, with your own custom decentralized network, you don't have to rely on external oracles. You know, kind of like right now with Ethereum, you have Chainlink providing the oracle services, but you can have your own nodes be the oracles when you have your own custom blockchain. And also, they can also be the actuators, which trigger events to happen in the external world. And feasibility is also very important. You know, you want to keep the barrier to create your own custom network low as possible. And, you know, that will allow many more people to look at the possibility of launching their own network as opposed to launching a decentralized app on a platform. And, you know, it also, you have to lower the barrier to maintaining that security because part of the reasons why people don't launch their own networks is because it's very vulnerable to being attacked and so forth. So making these things a lot easier for someone to create a network would allow a lot more new custom applications to be created with these decentralized networks. So who would want to use Shardus? So we feel that there's a lot of need for decentralized services that could potentially replace a lot of the current web services that we see out there, right? I could see a day where we have even social networks like Reddit or Twitter and things like that eventually being replaced by custom decentralized networks. I don't think that you would want to be running these networks on a platform like Ethereum or Polkadot or something like that, because they would have so much transaction throughput that you would want to build these on their own custom networks, and that's what we're shooting for. So any services that have very high transaction throughput would find these very useful. So things like social networks, games, even like a global identity system, and also enterprises, which have high throughput needs, where they're sharing data between other enterprises, and they a lot of times have pretty high transaction throughput needs, would want to use Shardus. Also, just to be able to have more data security, immutability, redundancy of your data, that it's another really good reason to use Shardus, or in that case, you could probably use other blockchains as well. Our own team is also planning to use Shardus to build several decentralized services. Currently, we're working on building a service called Libritus. You can actually try it out at test.libritus.com. We also, in the future, want to create a global universal basic income and demortgage-based stablecoin. We refer to that as Getcoin. And part of the reason for us creating Shardus was because we originally started out with this project to create Getcoin, but realized that the blockchain technology just wasn't there to be able to build something like Getcoin. Also, we plan to create a decentralized identity and reputation network, which we call GlobalVille. So these are kind of things that could have, like potentially millions of transactions per second and need their own custom decentralized network. So that's a quick wrap on what Shardus is about. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. And thank you very much for that presentation, by the way. It was fascinating. I think you raised a lot of really interesting points and questions about all the various explorations of how blockchain can be used for all these different socioeconomic things. And my specific question was about demurrage-based coin. I was wondering what exactly that means for the UBI, the Getcoin that you mentioned in the last slide.
Okay, yeah. So UBI-based crypto would be something where, like, say, every person that has created an account in this network would receive, say, something like 10 tokens per day. So there's a fixed daily amount that every individual receives. And demurrage basically means that there's sort of a currency tax applied to that currency, where, let's say, about 2% per year gets degraded. So if you had an account that you created and every day you were receiving, say, like 10 tokens per day into that account, initially it would continue growing. But every day you're also receiving or losing a very small percentage of your total balance, which on a yearly basis comes out to about 2%. But eventually, as your account reaches, say, like maybe 10,000 or 100,000 balance, the demurrage that's being taken out would equal the the daily amount that you're receiving, and so you would hit some equilibrium level. So with that kind of a system, you can pretty much calculate that the amount of money supply is proportional to the participants in that system. And it creates a new kind of a rule-based monetary system where it's neither inflationary or deflationary, and allows that system to be a lot more stable. And so, yeah, so that's what we're trying to achieve with Gitcoin. And there's some papers. If you shoot me an email, I can send you some papers that we've posted about this.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great. I'll make sure to get your email address. Thank you. So it's kind of like a negative interest rate, would you say, or it's just a way to maintain a stable supply of money within the network?
Right. Yeah, I mean, in a way, you could think of it as a negative interest rate, but it's always applied regardless of whether you put it in a savings account or not. As long as you have that currency in your account, it's always small amount is deducted on a daily basis. I actually like to kind of think of it as a currency tax as opposed to like a wealth tax, where a wealth tax is applied to everything that you own, but this is only applied to the currency that you have. And it helps to prevent the supply from inflating forever, because if you're just giving tokens to individuals on a daily basis, that supply would increase. But here the supply would reach an equilibrium and be proportional to the number of participants. And so my email address is omar@shardus.com. So yeah, feel free to shoot me an email there, and I can send you a link to the Gitcoin paper.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Omar. That's fascinating stuff. And I know your business partner on the call as well said that you guys might be willing to share the deck as well. So perhaps on the chat, or send it to me and I can get it out to Jonathan, or you can just get it to him directly.
Yeah.
And next up,
definitely.
Yeah, great. And next up, we've got Clayton Lowry, the senior